Welcome, friends, to a journey of tranquility and mindful creation. I'm your host, and today we're turning the ordinary into the extraordinary by designing a beautiful Karesansui tutorial for even the smallest of outdoor spaces. Forget complicated landscaping. We're embracing simplicity and the profound beauty of Japanese aesthetics. This ultimate guide will walk you through every step of transforming a tiny, overlooked corner of your backyard into a deeply meditative retreat. Picture a space where raked sand represents flowing water and carefully placed stones symbolize ancient mountains. It's more than just a garden. It's a piece of art that invites calm reflection into your daily life. Our journey begins with understanding the essence of the Japanese garden philosophy. A Karesansui, or dry landscape garden, is not about lush vegetation but about representing nature through minimalist elements. It's an abstract painting in 3 dimensions, where space and emptiness are just as important as the physical components. The goal is to capture the spirit of a grand, natural landscape like an ocean or a mountain range, using only rocks, gravel, and occasionally a small amount of moss or trimmed shrubbery. This philosophy emphasizes restraint, asymmetry, and naturalness, creating a profound sense of peace right in your own backyard. The first and most crucial step in our Karesansui tutorial is site selection and preparation. Even a space as small as 6 by 6 feet can be perfect. Look for an area that receives partial shade, as this helps maintain the serene atmosphere and prevents the gravel from becoming too hot. Begin by clearing the area completely, removing all weeds, debris, and existing plants. Level the ground as much as possible. A flat base is essential for a beautiful, level expanse of sand or gravel. This initial groundwork sets the stage for the artistry to come. Proper drainage is vital, especially when building a Japanese dry garden. We don't want standing water ruining our meticulously raked patterns. After leveling the soil, you should consider laying down a thin layer of coarse sand or crushed stone, perhaps an inch deep to facilitate water runoff. The next indispensable step is laying a high-quality landscape fabric. This weed barrier is critical. It prevents future weeds from sprouting up through your decorative gravel while still allowing water to permeate into the soil beneath, keeping your Zen space low maintenance. Now we move to framing the space, which defines the boundaries of your Zen garden elements. For a small backyard, a simple, low-profile border works best to maintain a sense of openness. You can use treated lumber, natural stone edging, or even tightly packed bamboo stakes. The border should be roughly the height of the intended gravel layer, which will typically be about 2 to 3 inches deep. A clean, defined edge is crucial for separating the meditative space from the rest of your small backyard landscaping, lending it a focused, intentional feel. Choosing the right stone for the border is an artistic decision. For a more authentic look, consider using rustic, irregularly shaped stones that harmonize with the concept of a Japanese rock garden. Alternatively, smooth river stones offer a cleaner, more contemporary appearance. The key is consistency in style and color. Ensure the border is securely set. If using wood, anchor it with stakes. This frame is not just a boundary. It's the canvas edge for the masterpiece you are about to create, holding the precious white gravel in place. The selection of the decorative gravel or sand is the next major step in our Karesansui tutorial. Traditionally, white or light gray crushed granite or quartz is used, as the lighter color contrasts beautifully with the stones and enhances the illusion of water. The particle size is also important. 3/8-inch gravel is common as it holds the raked patterns well without being too heavy to work with. You'll need enough material to cover the entire area to a depth of at least 2 inches. This expanse of light material is the ocean of your minimalist garden ideas. Before spreading the gravel, let's discuss the philosophy of rock placement, a cornerstone of Japanese rock garden design. The arrangement of larger stones, known as ishi, represents mountains, islands, or even ships sailing on the sea. They should be chosen for their natural shape and texture, avoiding overly perfect or symmetrical forms. Select an odd number of rocks, typically 3, 5, or 7, as asymmetry is a core tenet of the design philosophy. The stones will be the focal points and the visual anchors of your tranquil space. We're ready to position the ishi. Following the Zen Garden design principles, these stones should be placed in clusters, often in triangular formations, which is considered a stable and aesthetically pleasing arrangement. The largest stone typically serves as the principal feature, with smaller accompanying stones offering balance and visual flow. Bury the base of each rock slightly into the ground so they appear naturally emerging from the earth, not simply placed on top. Take your time. Moving them even a few inches can dramatically alter the garden's mood. Consider the relationship between the stones. They should appear to be interacting with each other, telling a silent, natural story. This is known as suteishi, or discarded stone technique, where stones are placed seemingly randomly, yet perfectly balanced. When working on your Karesansui tutorial, step back frequently to view the arrangement from various angles, including from the vantage point of where you will often observe the garden. The negative space around the stones is just as important as the stones themselves, embodying the concept of ma. With the foundation set, it's time to bring in the decorative gravel. Carefully pour the gravel into the framed area, spreading it evenly across the landscape fabric. Use a shovel or a rake to ensure a uniform depth of about 2 to 3 inches throughout the entire surface. This consistent depth is vital for creating smooth, clean lines when you begin the raking process. This vast, flat expanse is the heart of your meditation garden layout, the quiet sea waiting to be disturbed by the ripples of your rake. Now for the truly meditative part, the raking. The rake is an extension of the gardener's hand and mind, and the patterns represent water. Straight, parallel lines called saman are the most common, symbolizing calm, flowing water. Begin by raking gently from one side of the garden to the other, moving away from the viewer to create a sense of depth. This repetitive action is a fundamental aspect of the Zen garden design, transforming a simple chore into a practice of mindfulness and presence. Around the larger stones, the patterns become more complex. Circular or concentric ripple patterns, known as uzumaki, are raked outward from the base of the stones. These concentric circles symbolize the waves or ripples that a mountain or island might create in a body of water. This specific technique brings the stones to life, making them appear like islands emerging from the sea. Master this detail in your Karesansui tutorial to truly elevate the visual impact of your small backyard oasis. The choice of raking tool is important. For a small Japanese dry garden, a simple wooden hand rake with 5 to 7 tines works beautifully. The tines should be blunt to avoid digging too deeply into the gravel. You can even make a custom rake by attaching dowels to a plank of wood, spacing them according to the desired width of your lines. Experiment with different depths and angles of the rake to see what effect you can achieve. The texture of the gravel itself will guide your hand. The practice of raking itself is a form of active meditation. It encourages deep focus as each line must be drawn with intention and steady hands. The repetition quiets the mind, making the how to build a Zen garden process more than just construction. It becomes a spiritual endeavor. If a line is imperfect, simply smooth the area and begin again. The beauty of the Karesansui is its impermanence. The design is meant to be recreated, symbolizing the cyclical nature of life and change. Let's talk about plant material, which is used sparingly in a traditional Japanese rock garden. The use of plants should enhance the minimalist garden ideas, not dominate them. Moss is the most traditional choice, often applied to the base of larger stones to give them a sense of age and permanence. Small, carefully pruned shrubs, such as a low-growing Japanese maple or azalea, can be used, but they must be kept small and highly controlled. Remember, the focus must remain on the rocks and the gravel. If you decide to incorporate moss, finding the right variety is key. Sheet moss or cushion moss works well for covering flat areas or the tops of rocks. To apply it, simply press the moss firmly onto moist, cleared soil at the base of your chosen rock. Keep it misted until it establishes itself. The green of the moss offers a vital color contrast to the white gravel and gray stone, bringing a touch of living texture into your meditation garden layout. For small backyard landscaping, lighting is a critical yet often overlooked Zen garden element. Proper lighting extends the beauty and utility of the garden into the evening hours. Use subtle, low-voltage landscape lighting placed strategically to highlight the main stones and the raked patterns. Avoid bright, harsh floodlights. Instead, aim for soft, warm light that creates deep, calming shadows, enhancing the mystery and depth of your small space. Consider a single well-placed stone lantern, Toro, as a focal point. A traditional lantern not only provides soft illumination but is also a powerful Zen garden design symbol, representing the element of fire and serving as a guide. Place it off-center, respecting the principle of asymmetry. A small, subtle path light near the entrance of the garden can also be useful, gently inviting you into the contemplative space you've created through this Karesansui tutorial. Let's discuss the placement of a viewing stone, or shoseki. This is a single, striking stone placed to be viewed from a specific, favored vantage point. It should have a dramatic or interesting shape, perhaps resembling an animal or a figure, capturing the eye and inviting deeper contemplation. This stone contributes significantly to the overall narrative of your Japanese dry garden and should be chosen with great care, almost like selecting the final signature brushstroke on a masterpiece. A water basin, or tsukubai, is another lovely Zen garden element to consider. Even though the garden is technically dry, a tsukubai is a small, low basin traditionally used for ritual washing before a tea ceremony. In your small backyard landscaping, it can be a simple, natural stone bowl filled with water and a few floating petals. It introduces the sound and presence of water without the need for complex plumbing, adding another sensory layer to the experience. The surrounding area greatly impacts the feeling of your meditation garden layout. If your small backyard is bordered by a fence, consider staining it a dark natural color like black or deep brown. This dark backdrop makes the light gravel and stones pop visually, creating a striking contrast that enhances the sense of depth and separation from the outside world. This simple change is a powerful technique in achieving the desired tranquil atmosphere. Now is a good time to revisit the concept of ma, or negative space. In Zen garden design, the empty space, the raked gravel, is where the imagination truly takes flight. The rocks are anchors, but the gravel is the canvas. Ensure that the placement of your stones and any small plants leaves ample, uninterrupted space. Clutter is the enemy of tranquility. The less you have, the more profound the space becomes, aligning perfectly with minimalist garden ideas. We finished the main construction. Now we focus on the ongoing maintenance, which is a significant part of the how to build a Zen garden practice. The number one rule is keeping the gravel clean. Use a leaf blower on a low setting or a wide broom to clear fallen leaves and debris. Inspect the landscape fabric periodically near the edges to ensure it hasn't become exposed or torn, compromising the weed barrier. Weed control is minimal due to the landscape fabric, but occasionally a stubborn weed may appear. Attend to it immediately. Hand pulling is the preferred method to avoid disrupting the carefully raked gravel. Think of this occasional chore as a small act of devotion to your Japanese rock garden. Maintaining the purity of the gravel expanse is key to preserving the abstract, watery aesthetic that is the hallmark of the Karesansui. The gravel itself may need to be refreshed every few years. Over time, the surface layer can become compacted or accumulate fine dust, making the raking lines less crisp. You can gently rake out the top layer and occasionally top it up with a new thin layer of fresh gravel. This keeps the color bright and the texture ideal for creating those mesmerizing Samon and Uzumaki patterns we outlined in our Karesansui tutorial. Let's discuss the power of sound in your meditation garden layout. While a dry garden is inherently silent, incorporating a subtle, natural sound can enhance the meditative experience. Consider hanging a simple bamboo wind chime or a bronze bell near the garden. The soft, random sounds of the chime add a layer of auditory interest without being disruptive, allowing the surrounding sounds of nature to be present. For those with a completely enclosed or walled small backyard landscaping space, consider adding a piece of bamboo screening to one of the walls. This immediately invokes a traditional Japanese garden philosophy aesthetic and can cover an unsightly wall or fence. The natural texture of the bamboo adds warmth and a vertical element that contrasts nicely with the horizontal lines of the raked gravel. Returning to the Zen garden elements, let's focus on the rake itself. When you are done raking, the rake should not be simply discarded. It is a tool of contemplation and should be stored respectfully. Traditionally, the rake can be leaned against the garden border or placed on two small, low stones at the edge of the gravel. This simple act acknowledges the tool's importance in the practice of creating the Japanese dry garden. Let's refine the placement of the stones, a core principle in how to build a Zen garden. There's a concept called inseki, which means stone arrangement. The stones are often grouped in twos and threes, and the grouping itself should feel balanced, even though the total number of elements should be odd. Always place the stones to appear as if they are resting in a natural formation, minimizing the appearance of the flat, cut side of the stone. The shape of your garden frame is an important aspect of Zen garden design. While a square or rectangle is simplest for a small backyard landscaping, you might consider a slightly irregular shape to imitate the natural curves found in nature. A gentle curve along one edge can add softness and a less rigid feel to the overall layout, making the space feel organic and less manufactured, supporting the Japanese garden philosophy. For those seeking truly minimalist garden ideas, you can eliminate all plant material except for the gravel and the stones. A strictly stone and gravel garden is perhaps the purest expression of the Karesansui. In this case, the raking patterns become even more significant, as they are the only dynamic changeable element. The stark simplicity emphasizes form, texture, and the interplay of light and shadow throughout the day. Another advanced raking technique for your Karesansui tutorial is to represent turbulent water. Instead of straight lines, use the rake to create short, choppy, and overlapping curves. This suggests a storm, a river rapid, or a dramatic sea. This contrast in pattern can be used around a single, powerful rock to emphasize its resilience and stability against the chaotic representation of the water. The viewing area for your meditation garden layout is crucial. Ideally, the garden should be viewed from a single dedicated vantage point, such as a bench, a small deck, or a patio chair. This intentional viewing angle ensures that all the elements, the stones, the raked patterns, and the surrounding frame come together to create the perfect composition, much like a framed picture. Let's look at the type of rock in a Japanese rock garden. Igneous and metamorphic rocks like granite, basalt, and slate are traditionally preferred due to their hardness and ability to withstand weather while acquiring a desirable aged patina. The color should be muted grays, browns, and dark greens to maintain the somber, contemplative mood of the Japanese dry garden. For your small backyard landscaping, you might consider a small, portable boundary for a micro Karesansui. Use a large, shallow wooden tray or a planter box. This allows you to bring the Zen garden elements inside during inclement weather or move them to find the perfect viewing spot. It's a wonderful, accessible entry point into the art of Karesansui without committing to permanent construction. We must address the use of height. While the Karesansui is generally flat, the rocks provide the necessary vertical dimension. Taller, more pointed rocks can represent high mountain peaks, while flatter, more rounded stones can symbolize low-lying islands. Varying the height within your rock groupings is vital for creating a dynamic and believable miniature landscape in your Zen garden design. In this stage of your Karesansui tutorial, consider introducing a stepping stone path if your garden is large enough to walk through, though this is rare in smaller designs. If you do, the stones should be irregular and placed with the intention of slowing the walker down, forcing a mindful, deliberate pace. This ensures that the journey through the meditation garden layout is part of the overall contemplative experience. Let's focus on the color palette for your minimalist garden ideas. The color scheme should be overwhelmingly neutral and monochromatic. White-gray from the gravel, dark gray, brown from the stones, and perhaps a touch of green from the moss. This limited palette is intentional. It prevents visual distraction, allowing the mind to focus entirely on the abstract forms, textures, and the soothing raked patterns. The principle of migakure, or hide and reveal, is fascinating. In a slightly larger Japanese rock garden, elements are placed so that they are only partially visible from the main viewing point. This technique creates a sense of mystery and depth, encouraging the viewer to imagine what lies beyond the visible frame. In a small space, this can be achieved by placing a stone partially behind a small plant. The spiritual connection is the ultimate Zen garden element. While the garden is a physical space, its purpose is to aid in meditation and reflection. The act of sitting quietly and observing the patterns, the stillness of the stones, and the play of light is the fulfillment of the garden's function. Building a Karesansui is not just about landscape, how to build a Zen garden. It is about creating a sacred space for the mind. Let's discuss the fence again, a critical part of small backyard landscaping. If your fence is tall, it can serve as a backdrop, creating a sense of enclosure and protection. If your fence is low, you might consider planting a tall, narrow privacy screen behind it to block unwanted views and contain the focus within your Japanese dry garden, reinforcing the tranquil atmosphere. The gravel must always look pristine. Rain can wash away the raked patterns, and strong winds can scatter debris. Following a heavy downpour, take the time to re-rake your Zen garden design. This regular process is not a chore, but a renewed opportunity for active meditation, a fresh start for the day, and a commitment to the stillness of your tranquil space. Incorporating a small, natural piece of aged wood or driftwood, bakuseki, can add an interesting texture and form to your meditation garden layout. This piece should be placed carefully, following the same asymmetrical principles as the stones. It might suggest a fallen log or a piece of flotsam washed up on the shore, adding a layer of natural realism to the abstract dry landscape created in our Karesansui tutorial. The use of different gravel textures can also enhance the design. While the main field is fine white gravel, you might use a ring of slightly coarser darker gravel around the base of the stones to further emphasize the island effect. This subtle contrast in texture and color adds depth without compromising the minimalist garden idea's philosophy. If you are using a wall as one of your borders, consider incorporating a small traditional water spout or kakehi. This is a bamboo pipe that drips water into a basin below. The gentle sound is highly relaxing and adds the element of water sound to your Japanese rock garden without introducing large, complex water features. In a small backyard landscaping space, reflection is your friend. If there is a smooth, dark surface adjacent to your Karesansui, such as a painted wall or a window, the raked patterns will be subtly reflected, making the small space feel larger and more complex. This illusion of extended space is a simple yet powerful Zen garden design technique. A final touch on the rock placement, or ikshigumi. Always ensure that your primary rock grouping creates a strong sense of jitsuzo, solidity, and kyuzo, emptiness. The solid, heavy feeling of the stones should contrast sharply with the open, empty expanse of the gravel. This dualistic interplay is a cornerstone of Japanese garden philosophy. Let's discuss seasonal change. While the Japanese dry garden is largely evergreen or everstone, you can introduce small, non-disruptive elements to acknowledge the seasons. For instance, placing a few fallen, brightly colored maple leaves on the gravel in autumn, or a small snow lantern, Yukimi Toro, in winter, can add temporary beauty without clutter. The creation of the Karesansui is a deeply personal expression. Even following our comprehensive Karesansui tutorial, no two gardens will be the same. Your choice of stones, the placement, and the specific raking patterns reflect your own contemplation and interpretation of nature. Embrace the unique imperfections in your meditation garden layout. They are what give it character. To achieve the best effect in your small backyard landscaping, ensure the entire garden is visible from the viewing point. You shouldn't have to crane your neck or stand up to see the full composition. The full view allows the mind to absorb the entirety of the abstract landscape, leading to a deeper, more profound state of relaxation and contemplation. In creating a minimalist garden idea space, the quality of your materials often speaks louder than the quantity. Invest in high-quality stones that have a beautiful, natural texture and color. A few magnificent rocks are infinitely better than a multitude of mediocre ones. The essence of the Zen garden elements lies in their intrinsic beauty and ability to inspire. The final edge of your garden, where the border meets the surrounding area, is crucial. Ensure there's a clean, deliberate separation, perhaps a small buffer of smooth river stones or a neat strip of lawn. This demarcation emphasizes the intentional, sacred nature of your Japanese rock garden, separating it from the casual, unraked world outside its frame. Remember the initial steps of the how to build a Zen garden process: site preparation and leveling. If you notice after a few months that the gravel is shifting or pooling in one area, you may need to add more soil or gravel to correct the subtle slope. A perfectly level gravel plane is essential for the salmon lines to look straight and continuous. Let's summarize the aesthetic principles: simplicity, asymmetry, naturalness, and austere refinement, sabi. Every decision from rock choice to rake line should serve these principles. If an element feels too busy, too symmetrical, or too artificial, it should be removed. The power of your Japanese dry garden lies in its quiet restraint. The process of creating and maintaining a Karesansui offers a unique form of self-expression and connection to nature. The raking patterns are temporary, yet the stones are timeless. This beautiful tension between permanence and impermanence is the heart of the Zen garden design and the lesson it offers every time you sit down to observe it. As you settle into your completed meditation garden layout, take a moment to breathe deeply. This space is now yours, a personal sanctuary, a miniature world designed to calm the mind and nourish the spirit. The simplicity of the rocks and the waves of the gravel serve as a constant, quiet reminder to live mindfully and appreciate the beauty of emptiness. Re-raking the gravel after a disturbance is a ritual of renewal, a physical manifestation of putting things back in order. Do not fear disturbing the patterns. That is their very nature. The creation of a fresh, clean expanse of raked gravel is the most satisfying part of the Karesansui tutorial and the ongoing practice of your dry landscape garden. We have transformed a small, ordinary backyard corner into a deeply meaningful space, adhering to the elegance of Japanese garden philosophy. This tiny patch of earth is now a universe of mountains and seas, a place where the mind can wander freely, unburdened by the complexities of the outside world, embodying the true spirit of minimalist garden ideas. Now let's delve deeper into the artistry of the raking patterns. Beyond the basic straight lines, consider creating shippo or tortoiseshell patterns. These are interconnected, net-like patterns, often used to represent flowing water or auspicious elements. This detail is more challenging, but mastering it can add significant visual complexity and depth to your Zen garden elements. For those looking to save money on their How to Build a Zen Garden project, River gravel, while less traditional than crushed granite, can be a cost-effective and beautiful alternative. Look for river gravel that is light-colored and uniform in size. Its rounded edges create softer, less defined raked lines, lending a gentler, more rustic feel to the overall design. Let's focus on the surrounding architecture. If your small backyard landscaping features wooden decking or a natural stone patio, try to match the border material of your Japanese rock garden to these elements. Harmony between the garden and its surroundings is crucial in Japanese garden philosophy to create a unified and flowing aesthetic. A subtle, traditional addition to your meditation garden layout could be a small plaque or stone inscribed with a simple, profound kanji character, such as mu, nothingness, or zen. Placed discreetly near the viewing area, this serves as a quiet reminder of the garden's contemplative purpose. It is a powerful Zen garden design anchor. Maintaining the health of any small plants or moss is an important part of the Karesansui tutorial. Moss needs moisture and shade. If your garden receives more sun than anticipated, you may need to install a small, temporary shade cloth during the hottest parts of the day to protect the delicate green textures. The concept of wabi-sabi is key in your Japanese dry garden. It celebrates imperfection, transience, and the beauty of age. Do not strive for a perfectly new or flawless look. The slight weathering of the stones, the subtle discoloration of the gravel, these are the details that give the garden its soulful, authentic character. When selecting your main rocks for your Japanese rock garden, Look for stones with interesting stratification or natural markings. These markings become natural focal points and can even be interpreted as rivers, caves, or natural formations when viewed alongside the raked gravel, furthering the abstract landscape theme. We've talked about lighting, but let's consider the light source. For the most evocative effect in minimalist garden ideas, conceal the actual light fixtures so that only the illumination is visible. This practice of hiding the source enhances the magical, contemplative atmosphere, allowing the viewer to focus solely on the forms and shadows. If your small backyard landscaping is overlooked by taller buildings, vertical screening becomes a necessity. Using simple vertical bamboo poles or closely spaced wooden slats can block those distracting upper views, creating a low-cost, high-impact ceiling that draws the eye down and maintains the intimacy of the space. Let's refine the technique for creating ripple patterns, uzumaki, in your Zen garden design. Start your circular rake movement close to the rock, lifting the rake slightly as you move outward. The lines should become gradually wider and shallower, giving the illusion of a naturally dissipating wave radiating from the stone's base. In the ongoing maintenance of your How to Build a Zen Garden, remember to check your border periodically for shifting. Frost heave or ground movement can cause wooden borders to warp or stone borders to separate. A sturdy, intact border is essential to keep the gravel contained and the clean lines of the design sharp. The Zen garden elements can include small, carefully placed smooth stones known as kobishi. These are smaller than the main ishi rocks, and are often placed in groups of 3 or 5 to represent smaller islands or stepping stones in a waterway. They add scale and detail to the overall meditation garden layout. Consider using a dark, contrasting mulch or fine bark in the areas immediately surrounding your garden frame. This provides a visual break between the pristine white gravel and the surrounding lawn or patio, enhancing the feeling that your Japanese dry garden is a contained, separate world of contemplation. A deeper look into Japanese garden philosophy reveals the concept of shake, or borrowed scenery. Even in a small backyard, try to frame your view to borrow a distant beautiful element, like a neighbor's attractive tree or a view of the sky, integrating it seamlessly into your garden's composition. For your Karesansui tutorial, remember that consistency in the raking pattern direction is paramount. All the parallel Simon lines should flow in the same general direction, usually perpendicular to the main viewing spot. This uniformity reinforces the powerful illusion of a single continuous body of water. Let's discuss the importance of shadow. The time of day significantly changes the look of your Japanese rock garden. Early morning and late afternoon sun cast long, dramatic shadows that deepen the texture of the raked gravel and highlight the contours of the stones, adding a temporal layer to the Zen garden design. In a highly minimalist garden ideas approach, you can create a Karesansui using only one large, strikingly shaped stone as the sole island, set within a vast expanse of raked white gravel. This extreme simplicity heightens the focus on the single element and the surrounding space, offering pure contemplation. For your small backyard landscaping, if you have an uneven patch of ground you can't fully level, use it to your advantage. A gentle, intentional slope can be created in the gravel and rocks to suggest a hillside or a dynamic coastal area, adding natural movement to your seemingly static Zen garden elements. The color contrast of the meditation garden layout materials is fundamental. The lighter the gravel and the darker the stone, the more striking the contrast will be. This contrast creates clarity and definition, ensuring that the raked patterns are clearly visible and the abstract representation of the landscape is immediate and impactful. Beyond the traditional, consider incorporating a simple, low wooden bench within the frame of your Japanese dry garden if space permits. This invites the viewer to be physically present within the art, not just an observer, deepening the personal connection to the space you built following the How to Build a Zen Garden steps. Always prioritize the natural look. When placing stones, avoid any arrangement that looks too perfect or mathematical. The principle of asymmetry, fukunsei, is a key element of Japanese garden philosophy. The arrangement should look like it was placed by nature, not by a ruler and compass. The edges of the stones that touch the gravel should be gently buried. This small detail is a powerful technique from the Karesansui tutorial that makes the rocks feel grounded and permanent, as if they have been eroding in the sea for centuries, fully integrated into the miniature landscape. If local wildlife is an issue in your Japanese rock garden, such as cats or squirrels disturbing the raked patterns, consider placing subtle, flat deterrents near the edges, or using a fine mesh cover overnight until the animals learn to leave the area undisturbed. Let's focus on the vertical Zen garden elements again. If you choose to incorporate a small, upright pine or juniper, ensure it is carefully and repeatedly pruned using the Niwaki technique to keep it small, controlled, and sculptural, reflecting the miniaturized scale of the entire design. For a truly unique minimalist garden ideas design, use black basalt or dark gray gravel instead of white. This dramatic dark expanse represents a deep, cold ocean, and the raked patterns will appear more subtle, almost like shadows, creating a much moodier and more intensely contemplative meditation garden layout. The longevity of your small backyard landscaping depends on the border quality. Using concrete footings or deeply set treated lumber for the frame will ensure stability against erosion and ground shifting, protecting your significant investment of time and care in the How to Build a Zen Garden process. To fully appreciate the sensory experience, try viewing your Japanese dry garden after a light rain. The wet gravel will darken, the stones will appear richer in color, and the remaining moisture will enhance the illusion of a watery landscape, adding another dimension to your Zen garden design. The act of sitting and simply observing your Karesansui can be a daily mindfulness practice. Set aside 5 minutes each morning to re-rake a small section, then sit for another 5 minutes to appreciate the refreshed pattern. This simple routine reinforces the deep connection to your space. This final segment reinforces the beauty of creating something profound in a Japanese rock garden within the limits of your space. Remember, scale is relative. Your small backyard has been transformed into a majestic, abstract mountain range, proving that tranquility can be found anywhere. We have navigated the complexities of site prep, stone placement, and raking artistry, turning simple materials into a masterpiece of Japanese garden philosophy. Your Karesansui is a testament to the power of design to bring peace and refined beauty into the hustle of modern life. Thank you for joining me on this ultimate comprehensive guide to creating your very own Japanese rock garden. I hope this journey has inspired you to start building your own tranquil sanctuary. May your new Karesansui bring you peace and mindful reflection for years to come. If you enjoyed this in-depth guide, please consider giving this video a thumbs up, sharing it with a fellow garden enthusiast, and most importantly, subscribing to the channel for more inspirational small backyard landscaping projects.